I've recently been putting a lot of attention in understanding the economic and geopolitical situation of the world. And until I started to, I thought it was chill. It was okay. Nothing was. And then you start to put your head into it. I think what happens is for each and every one of us, we have limited capacity as humans. Like we can focus on 10 topics, right? 15. And if AI is not one of them, it doesn't really exist to us. Okay? Now, I'm here to tell you, this is it. The world as you know it is over, completely done. Okay? It's not about to be over, it's over, right? And so I'd openly say, you probably have a year, not to live, you're gonna live more than a year, I hope, but you probably have a year to react, okay? And don't blame me, because honestly, I'm never coming back to speak to you. Next year, you're probably gonna invite my avatar, right? So, and I promise you that's the truth. Before I came here yesterday, just for the fun of it, I asked Gemini and ChatGPT, I said, give me a 35-minute speech on AI and read me minutes 2 to 4. Yeah, it did sound a bit like a politician, but it made a speech, right? And it's quite interesting how we ignore that, because with something like ChatGPT 4.0, which came out this week, it not only prepared the speech, but it now can also laugh with me and sing with me and tell me things. It sounds very Californian to me, but anyway, I've lived with Californians long enough to put up with it, right? But it's real. It is real. And if you haven't used it, where have you been? In the water, right? Now, if we were to understand, I'm going to try to speak for 30 minutes and then allow us maybe 15 minutes of a chat so that we can, come around this as a community. What I'll try to do is first help you understand where we're coming from. Because if you understand the trajectory of what's been happening, how quickly that thing is launching, you can imagine how it's going to look like next year. Right? So where we came from, I'm a very serious geek. I started coding at age 8, which feels like a zillion years ago. And when I coded, believe it or not, age 8, first time I coded, I was using BASIC, which is, as the name implies, a very basic language. And I wanted to create an AI. That was my dream, right? Every one of us geeks, we just wanted to create an AI. It was everyone's dream. We never managed to, but we did something that appeared intelligent. So, let me start by defining what is AI. Every piece of code I've ever written before the year 2000 was a piece of code where I solved the problem first with my intelligence and then told the computer how to solve it, right? So it's almost like if I call one of you and give you a puzzle and then tell you, this piece you put in the top left corner, and then that piece under it, and that piece under it, and then turn this one, and so on. You can finish the puzzle, and if someone doesn't hear me giving you the instructions, they would think you're very smart, but you're not, right? By the turn of the century, this ended, right? So the idea of us telling computers what to do, by the way, they did it very quickly, very accurately, at a massive scale, and so they appeared smart. Okay? But it was me who solved the problem. It was my intelligence multiplied, right? By the turn of the century, we discovered something called deep learning. And deep learning was truly teaching computers the way I taught my children how to be intelligent. The way I taught my children how to be intelligent was to give them little puzzle pieces when they were young, those cylinders and a board with different holes in it. And no one ever told their children, no, hold on, my son, take the cylinder, turn it upside down, look at the cross-section. It will look like a circle. Compare it to those holes. It will match the one that is a circle. Put it there. Nobody ever tells their children that. What we do is we give them a cylinder and a board, and they keep trying, until one time it goes through, and then suddenly, boom, light bulb, and they learn something. Right? That's exactly what we did with computers with deep learning. By the way, we started to be able to do deep learning because by the year 2000, the internet was big enough for us to have those number of trials for the computers to learn on their own. Now, please understand, when we did that, I think my favorite example of that was the year 2009. We did it earlier, but at the time I was at Google, and we published a paper called the cat paper. And the cat paper was, basically we asked the computers to watch YouTube and tell us what they find. We had a lot of capacity, compute capacity, so they would take YouTube videos, cut them into 10 frames per second, and compare the patterns on the 10 frames, basically trying. And then one of them said, I found something, we had to write a bit of code to find out what it found, and it had found a cat. Of course, it's YouTube, right? And it didn't only find one cat, it found what makes something a cat. It could literally find every cat on YouTube. We never taught it how. We never understood how it did it. Understand that, right? And the code that was written for a computer to find every cat on YouTube, if I had written it the traditional way, would have been probably 200 million lines of code, because I would have to find every possible interpretation of how a cat looks on YouTube and get the computer to see that, right? That code was this big, right? But there was a lot of numbers and mathematics that we don't understand. Just like I can ask you a question and you'd give me a very intelligent answer, and I have no clue what happened inside your brain to get to that answer. This is where we are. Computers find their own intelligence. We don't teach them how, we just give them the data to learn, and they learn like humans. And every task we've ever given them since, they've become better than humans at. Right? So they are the world champion in chess, they're the world champion in Go, they're the world champion in everything we've given them. They are the best manipulator of humanity on the planet in terms of social media engines. They are the best writers, the best artists, the best musicians, the best anything we've ever given them. Right? And between the turn of the century and the time when we recognized that, which is what I normally refer to as the Netscape moment, right? So 2023, every one of you started to hear about AI. That's not because AI started in 2023, right? AI started in 2000, and by 2016, all of us in the lab, we knew we got it, right? By 2016, we had created code that would blow you away. Right? We started to fold proteins. If you understand, protein folding is one of the most complex problems ever faced by biologists in history. You know, it would take a group of PhD students around 8 months to fold one protein. We created AlphaFold in 2016, 2017, and it folded 200 million proteins, okay, in a day. Now, when ChatGPT came out in 2023, people said, oh, there's something called AI. It's not because AI started, it's because we had a browser. Just like Netscape, when the internet came out in 1995, the internet had existed for almost 15 years before. It's just that for the first time we had a browser, we could see it. Now, since 2023 until today, it's been mind-blowing. Okay? Just to give you a few statistical pointers to understand. First of all, intelligence is a lot deeper than ChatGPT. Let's be very clear. Okay? The task given to ChatGPT and Gemini and others is linguistic intelligence. It's the ability to understand knowledge and communicate and so on and so forth. Okay? Of course, there are other forms of intelligence, emotional intelligence, for example, they haven't learned yet. Right? Intuition, complex mathematics, deep reasoning. All of those forms of intelligence, we haven't seen AI perform that way yet, but we will very soon, and I'll tell you why. But what we did is, as we gave them that task, we have a machine called ChatGPT that is estimated in certain tasks to perform at 110 IQ, and in other tasks at 155 IQ. Just so that you know, Elon Musk is 155. Einstein, which was never really measured, is estimated to be 162. So we have machines today that are as intelligent as Einstein. And we as humans, sitting in the cold water, the gradually heating water, are chilling and discussing and saying, no, but we will always be humans, we will always be in the lead. They will always need us. Okay? And I used to go mad in 2016 when people would tell me, oh, but hold on, AI, no, humans, we're capable of creativity, we're capable of, poetry and music, and these are things that AI will never do. What? What do you mean? Basically, they're doing every one of them better than us, right? Why? Because if you take the most complex of them, innovation, for example, in my very geeky mind, innovation can be turned into a mathematical equation. It's basically an instruction to a machine that says, find every possible solution to a problem, discard the ones that were proposed before, give me the ones that have never been proposed before, and that is innovation. This is it, right? It's solutions to a problem that have not been seen before. Now, what does that mean? We're all going to die. No, we're not, okay? What it means is that the world has changed, okay? And the key word to artificial intelligence is singularity, is that we don't actually know how the world will change, right? A singularity is an event horizon where the rules of the game change so much that you're no longer able to understand how the game will be played, okay? When the rules of the game become that the smartest person you can ever hire in your company is no longer a human, okay? Everything you know about the rules of HR change, okay? When the rules of the game change to the point where your customer is not necessarily making their choices themselves anymore, but that the machine will recommend to them, the rules of the game change. When, I've seen beautiful marketing advertising campaigns here, when there will be a moment in the near future when machines will be marketing to machines and we will be out of the picture altogether, the rules of the game change, right? And I want to say that as the rules of the game change, we can end up in a magnificent utopia of abundance, right? And we can also end up in a dystopia of a very difficult time. Let me talk about the utopia of abundance first so that you understand I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to tell you that the water is boiling, right? My objective is for you to jump out of the pan, right? But today, to do that, I have to tell you it's boiling and that hurts, right? Let's talk about the abundance first. The abundance is this. You may not feel it anymore, but the reason we have all of this technology is because there is a plug in the wall that is providing a very valuable resource called electricity. Electricity has become a utility. It's in the back of our minds. We don't even think about it anymore, right? There will be another plug in the wall, probably in your pocket, in your phone, that is called intelligence. It's a utility, okay? And today, just last night, okay, I plugged into that intelligence and I got myself what I would probably estimate to be an extra 25 IQ points. I became 25 IQ points more intelligent yesterday as I was analyzing a complex problem using AI, right? There will be a moment in the future where I will plug in and get another 100 IQ points. There will be a moment in the future where I will plug in and get 400 IQ points more, right? Now, I can promise you this. If you give me or any of my peers that I worked with at Google X 400 IQ points more, I will solve every problem on planet Earth. Every single one of them. Climate change, wars, wealth, whatever. Okay? As a matter of fact, I keep telling people openly that with 400 IQ points more, I can plant a garden outside where you can walk to one tree and pick an apple and walk to another tree and pick an iPhone. Okay? From a nanophysics point of view, it's the exact same cost. Right? And we are on the verge. If you understand where we are on nanophysics and nano manufacturing in general, we are on the verge of being able to do that. We just need to be a slightly more intelligent. Okay? Now, that is a world of abundance where everything changes. Imagine if we can solve the energy problem to the point where energy becomes zero cost. Because energy is so abundant around us. Okay? What would that do to the geophysics, to the geopolitics? Would we fight over energy anymore? Would we, how would the cost of products become if energy was free? Think about all of that. Okay? That's a utopia that is almost impossible to imagine, that completely changes everything we've ever learned, definitely changes retail. Okay? And it is literally a few years away, right? There are, however, on the path to get there, quite a few challenges. And actually, when we get there as well, there are quite a few challenges. And those challenges, let me be very, very clear, are not a problem with AI. Okay? Let me be very, very clear. There is absolutely nothing wrong with artificial intelligence. There is absolutely no threat to be found in artificial intelligence. There is a lot wrong with the value system of humanity in the age of the rise of artificial intelligence. Right? There is a lot wrong with the way humans will use this superpower. Okay? So the way I look at it is I say it's like raising Superman. Right? You adopt this infant who has superpowers. And if you teach the infant to protect and serve, becomes Superman. If you teach it to go and rob a bank and kill your enemy, it becomes supervillain. Superpower is irrelevant. Okay? It's the value set that you create around raising that infant that will create the future of humanity. Now, there are 5 areas that I need to highlight as areas where you have to understand the change. Okay? One of them, very important, is the area of power and wealth. Okay? We humans have lived in a world of scarcity since we have started. A world of scarcity that basically says, for me to grow, my competitor has to shrink. Okay? A world of scarcity that basically means I have to be the military superpower in the world, otherwise everyone will kill me. Right? That world of scarcity is no longer going to be the truth. But going to get there, okay, I think what's going to end up happening is we're going to apply the same mentality of collecting as much power and wealth as we can. Now, let me help you understand this. If you look back at human history, there was a time when we were hunter-gatherers. So basically, the best hunter in the tribe would be able to maybe feed the tribe for a day more, 2 days more, right? Why? Because that hunter had himself to hunt, and the maximum automation he had was a spear, right? When we became farmers, the best farmer could feed the tribe a month more. Why? Because that best farmer knew how to use a form of automation called soil, right? So while the farmer put the seed and used his own human resources to manage that seed, the soil did most of the work, right? When the Industrial Revolution started, factories with one person handling the operation would, multiply the production. When information, revolution happened, we now don't even have to go to work. We can work from home and make a difference, right? And as you can see, every time the form of automation became more powerful, the more we multiplied our productivity, and the more we multiplied abundance. But at the same time, the more we multiplied the power of those who owned the automation. Right? So the best hunter in the tribe may have been preferred by the leader or, fancied by the women of the tribe. That's the maximum he could get. The best farmers didn't make the money. The landlord made the money. Why? Because the landlord owned the automation. The best industrialists, the best engineer in the Porsche factory is not the one that makes most of the money. It's the company that makes the money, and so on. Right? And so you will see that very, very soon we will have trillionaires, not billionaires, because some people will acquire massive power and wealth. Okay? Because the automation using AI is basically multiple times the automation that was using the internet. Right? At the same time, you'll see that with nations. So a nation that gets a significant AI advantage in cybersecurity or in robotic warfare would have a very significant advantage, and all of the other nations would have to submit. So there is a massive concentration of power that is also combined with what I know, by the way, in business as well. Between you guys, if some of you are competing in the same country or the same city, the one that manages to harness intelligence more than the others will get a massive advantage. At the same time, there is a proliferation of power. A proliferation of power meaning I could probably, leaving this room, on my phone, order a printer for $22,000, and by the time I get home, I can print COVID. Synthetic biology now allows me to print living DNA. Okay? And that's available, open source for everyone, for around $22,000. Right? That proliferation of power mixed with concentration of power will lead to an environment of a lot of regulation and surveillance and control. This is the very first thing you have to understand. Right? The, concentration, surveillance, and control means that your consumer is not as free as your consumer used to be. Okay? Another thing that will actually happen very quickly is that a lot of your consumers will run out of business. They'll basically become out of a job. Why? Because jobs will go to the automation platform. Right? Your jobs will not go to the automation platform. They will go to someone who knows how to use the automation platform. I know I sound very grim. I apologize. I'm just telling you what is about to happen. Okay? What will happen in the next 5 to 10 years is that a retailer, okay, who knows how to use AI really, really well, will take the place of a retailer that doesn't. Okay? And so you might as well be that retailer. The idea of us, think about it this way, there is around 70% of the code written last year was written by a machine. So I'm talking about my own geeky life, okay? And I'm a very serious geek, but I'm old, right? So I cannot write code that competes with the machines anymore. The machines will write better code than I am. There are still 30% younger developers that are so good at what they do that they still write code better than the machines for now. But remember, over time, the machines will learn that code and learn how to write it as well. That's number 2. Number 3, which I think is really incredibly important in retail, is the nature of human connection will change massively. Okay? The nature of human connection, if you actually please do search for ChatGPT 4.0 videos when we're done with today, and look at how, have you ever seen the movie Her? If you have, it's an AI that pretends to be human. ChatGPT, I actually think that the voice that they used in the video sounds like Scarlett Johansson, right? It is so, it laughs with you, it reads your handwriting, it sees the environment you're sitting in, it is singing with you. And it's becoming so difficult to identify what is real and what is not, which will have a massive impact on human connection, both ways, by the way. Okay? One way is that a lot of people will, especially with the pandemic of loneliness that we have in the world today, will find an AI friend or an AI girlfriend, right? There are more than 50,000 AI influencers on Instagram today that people follow and listen to that are not even human. They're just generated by a machine, okay? And it's becoming really, from one side, becoming a replacement for human connection. But from the other side, it makes us crave genuine human connection even more, okay? So this, by the way, if I send the avatar next year, it's not going to feel the same, right? When we're done with this, I'll be around for your coffee break, and we can shake hands. And it's going to feel very different than it is with a machine. And I think this, in my view, is one of the biggest differentiators. Unlike what most people will tell you about what you can do, and I'll come back to what you can do in a minute, what you can do in the age of artificial intelligence. Of course, you have to learn the tools, but believe me, in the next 5 to 10 years, those who will capitalize on human connection will actually outperform those who don't. So those who replace everything with a machine are going to become more efficient, but those who will capitalize on human connection will become more loved. Okay? The other, and maybe the last trend I want to talk about is the trend of the absence of the truth, or the end of the truth. Okay? So there is a lot happening today in the geopolitics, politics, and economics of the world, and even in AI and climate change and so on, where you no longer know if it's true or not, because the mainstream media and social media is, covering it in a way that makes you no longer understand what is not, what is true and what is and what is not. And I think the reality is one of the biggest skills is those with authenticity and genuine honesty as humans or as businesses, will very quickly get, again, the favor of people around them, of their clients and their partners and so on. Right. I'm going to quickly talk about what we need to do in this environment. I really apologize for concerning you. Okay? Everything that I spoke to you about, by the way, in terms of the changes that are about to come, are not changes because of the machines. Did you notice that? Okay? These are changes because of the way the humans will use the machines. Right? Equally, by the way, humans could use those machines to say, let's completely ignore power. Every one of us can live like an emperor. It's fine. Okay? We don't need to compete, but that's not the human tendency. The human tendency, which I believe will eventually change, is that we want to aggregate more. We want to win. Right? That's the capitalist mindset that America has built, since World War II. Prior, but really propagated very strongly. Okay? There will be a time, in my view, where we will all go back and say, why are we competing for this? Right? The difference between the worst car in the world and the best car in the world is zero. Everything's so perfect, right? The difference between the abundance that every one of us can have today and the life that the Roman emperors had is infinite. Right? So why are we competing for more? So I call that normally in my book, Scary Smart, I call it the fourth inevitable. That eventually humanity will come to a point where the extra fight is not worth the effort because everyone is getting such an incredibly affordable, amazing access to technology and life. Right, so what do we need to do? I'll say that in a couple of minutes and then we open for questions. There are 3 skills that every organization and every human, and by the way, your kids as well, need to learn. One is learn the tools, learn AI, right? Don't live in the fax machine era anymore. When you leave today, go to one of the top tools, Gemini or chatgpt, and basically ask and say, I'm in retail, I live in this country, I'm very interested in food and beverage retail or whatever, I don't know, something, right? What tools should I be aware of? Right? What AI tools should I be aware of if I want to create videos or create marketing material or whatever, right? And it will tell you, and then you can follow from there. By the way, remember, nobody taught you PowerPoint. You didn't need a tutor to tell you that, right? So nobody will teach you AI. There will not be a course. You just hold the tool and start chatting to it. That's skill number 1. Skill number 2 is I urge you to find the truth. Find the truth, okay? The sign of this era is for you to not be... did you see the movie Idiocracy? That's a must. That's a cult classic. You have to see that. You really have to find a way to tell yourself, not everything I'm being told is true. I need to find out for myself what the truth is. Right? So the biggest difference between ChatGPT and Google search when I worked at Google is that when you searched Google, it gave you a million sites and told you find your own truth. Right? When you search ChatGPT, it tells you with confidence, the answer is, boom, a highly influenced Californian answer and view of the world. Okay? I went and asked ChatGPT, what is Mo Gawdat's wife's name? For 4 times in a row, it told me the wrong name with total confidence, okay? And every time I corrected it, it said, oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe you're right. And then on the 5th time, I said, what is Mo Gawdat's wife's name? It gave me the right answer, which is, I don't know. AI is not capable of doing that. So that's the second top skill. The third skill is human connection. Believe it or not, I'm going the exact opposite way. So I know the tools. I spend 3 hours a day to keep up, believe it or not. Okay? I'm very, very careful about understanding the truth. That's the reason why I spend so much time in deep analysis of geopolitical and economic issues, right? But the third one is human connection. So I'm no longer writing books. I just had my 4th bestseller last week, and that's it, right? I'm not actually going to write books again because books are not human. I'm going to go more and more and more in this. So my next topic to champion, I will actually prepare speeches about it. I will go and speak about it on podcasts. I may even prepare a webinar about it or whatever. And then I will ask an AI to write the book. Okay? I no longer need to do the tasks that they can do better than me. But the task I can do better than them is this, is to be able to see you and hug you and say hi and so on and so forth. I'll stop now. I think that gives us around 13, 14 minutes for Q&A. And if I think it would be better to focus on what you want to think about. Thank you.
So Mo and I have a chat, dig into some of those topics a bit deeper for 10 minutes. But importantly, we've got this time. If you would like to ask Mo a question, please do. It's an opportunity. It's not a threat. I can't believe that no one's got anything they'd like to dig into. There you go. I don't even have to ask the first question.
Yes.
Hang on one sec. We've got a microphone coming.
Yeah. Thanks. Hi, Mo. You described yourself as a geek and you are a master of code. So is it possible to digitalize fear or anger?
Oh, yeah, 100%. So that's a question I get quite a lot. Again, from the typical way of people saying, AI will never be creative, will never make music, and so on. So most emotions, I would probably now almost say all emotions. I'll tell you why I moved my mind on that. Most emotions are very algorithmic. We don't see them that way because they seem irrational. But fear is a moment in the future is perceived to be less safe than now. Okay? When you logically perceive that, you feel fear. Okay? In our biological machine is wired to sense that before your logical brain engages. As a matter of fact, your amygdala will perceive a fear 90 seconds before your prefrontal cortex perceives it. So that's why, if something shows up behind you, you jump without thinking. But the same algorithm is true. A moment in the future is less safe than now. Okay? A machine can definitely perceive that. Right? I can easily program that in the machine. And if you give the machine a task to, for example, merchandise your store, okay, it will absolutely, as it becomes more intelligent, it will look for possible threats in the future that might prevent it from merchandising the store. That will be analogous to fear, right? And all of the other emotions, anger. Anger is a difference in value set. It's a form of fear, but instead of fight or flight response, there is a hiss response. Let me, scream so that you run away. Instead of me running, flight or flight, I want you to run. That's anger, right? And yeah, once again, it is a sense of difference in value set combined with a sense of feeling unsafe around someone or something, some situation, leads to anger, right? And you can take all of them. All emotions, perhaps other than love, can actually follow an algorithmic path. Now, remember, the way a cat responds to anger is different, or fear, is different than the way a pufferfish responds. It's different than the way we respond. And it's also going to be different than the way a machine responds, right? So, fear for a pufferfish makes it puff, right? For a cat, it hisses, and for a human, we fight or flight, right? For a machine, it might move its code to another place, a different reaction, but the logic of the emotion is the same. I even dare say, and I know it sounds really shocking, that the machines will have a wider range of emotions than we do. And the reason for that logic is we have a wider range of emotion than a goldfish because we can understand concepts like the future, right? And so we can ponder emotions like, optimism and pessimism because we can have an image of the future. A goldfish doesn't do that, right? And because the intellectual bandwidth of the machines is likely going to be bigger than ours, they may feel things that we don't really understand at all. I think that's about to happen as well. Having said that, I should also remind you that, as I said in the beginning, emotional intelligence has not been the big investment of the AI community so far, even though, in my view, the natural evolution of the intelligence of the machines will lead them there eventually.
Okay, I'll ask a question. We were joined by actually no, sorry, we do have an audience member.
I love that you prefer their questions to yours. Yeah, that's very.
Everyone's
very selfless. Very selfless.
They've been listening to me for a day and a half already.
So sorry for that. Yeah, we talked last 2 days a lot about measurement. So maybe to ask a question after the emotions, like, is there any good way you know how to measure the emotions?
I do not know the answer to that. I don't know the answer to that. I have my last book is about stress, and we talk very clearly. We have a chapter called emotional stress, right? And the idea is that we in the modern world, sadly, have been trained to think when we go to school. We haven't been trained to feel. Okay, we have been trained to, unfortunately, suppress our emotions. Somehow, because in the workplace and in school, emotions can lead to a lot of unpredictability, right? We started to tell our kids at very young age, sit down, don't cry, just be what we tell you to be. And for a lot of us, we somehow are not able to even sense our own emotions. I found that for me specifically, which lived 30 years of being a very highly efficient, effective, corporate professional, I found that I can feel, but I wasn't allowed to express my emotions in the workplace. And as my connection to my body and my feminine side and my emotional side continued to grow, I think that my very first measure was my emotional body connection. So, many books on the topic, The Body Keeps the Score is a great one. The idea that when you trap an emotion, it basically grows, and then eventually it manifests in the form of a feeling, a sensation, right? You can easily see it. Anxiety is felt somewhere in your core. Anger is in all over your body with energy. Fear makes you want to coil. And so you can't really measure it, but you can sort of refer to it. My co-author in Unstressable basically uses a technique that she calls the which, where, why, and what. Which, where, why, and what, which is sort of a form of a meditation that she recommends you do every evening before you go to bed, where you can sit with yourself and say, which emotion am I feeling? Is this jealousy or anger? Is this fear or anxiety, and so on? Where in my body do I feel it? Why do I feel it? What's the logic that's triggering it? And what is it trying to tell me? Okay? Not what do I do about it. By the way, most emotions just want to be heard and acknowledged. What do I do about it? Having said that, can we measure that in AI? I don't think anyone's working on this at all. And I think this is a question that I have never given any thought to before. So well done. Yeah, thank you. Can we get more of those questions? That's actually, that's such an interesting question.
Yeah, Claudia, just down the front here.
We heard yesterday about how irrational we are as humans.
Yes.
And in our business, we're always trying to use research or any other methodology to try to predict consumer behavior. Do you think AI can help us do that?
100%. First of all, I don't think we're irrational at all. I think we're predictably irrational. Right? So because we are a very complex machine that takes a lot of input and parameters, and because our situation is always in flux, our behaviors seem to be irrational. Right? Fear seems to be a very irrational response to things, but when you know the logic behind it, and if you're aware to capture what triggered it, it's not irrational at all. It's the most rational thing to do. Right? The thing about AI is that the way we teach AI, believe it or not, is to actually observe patterns without judgment, which is such an interesting thing that humans are not capable of doing. Right? So the idea is an AI would be able to say, it wouldn't be able to explain why, but it would easily be able to say, 16,000 iPhone holders walked by your store and stopped for a minute and then didn't walk in. It can do that. It has all of that information, right? And basically, it can also tell you, and by the way, when you had green in your window, 6% of them walked in. Okay? And so much of what is available out there beats the human capability to comprehend, right? So as intelligent as one can be, how much data exactly can you cram into this little one machine, and how quickly can you transfer that data to this machine is truly where the advantage of AI is. The advantage is their memory structure is the entire history of humanity. Everything that's ever been written, everything that's ever happened can be comprehended by one data set, right? And they communicate that data set between them in a matter of a microsecond, when it would take me half an hour presentation to communicate it to you, right? And perhaps a day to prepare the presentation, right? And at the same time, which is the most interesting side of AI, is that if you have a situation when you're driving today and you have to brake and you learn something from it, I don't learn. Okay? If a self-driving car goes through that situation, every self-driving car on the planet learns, right? And so with those enormous shrinkages in connection time, in enormous growth in bandwidth, in memory size, we will start to observe structures and data patterns that humans cannot observe, and they'll give us that with zero judgment. Okay? More interestingly, sadly, and I say that with a broken heart, really, is that, believe it or not, the top commercial application of AI in the last 10 years has been manipulating humans. So everything that you see on social media is a machine that has learned so well which video I will click on next, right? And so accordingly, it also can learn so well which product I will buy at which price if it's presented to me with a sticker of which color. And I don't even know that. And I think this, sadly, is where the conversation is going. My biggest ask, if you would allow me to say, is that while I urge you to use AI, okay, I urge you to remember that the way you will use AI is the way your kids are going to be treated, okay? And since the last couple of years, the geopolitical, the economic, the weather, climate change, and the technological advancement, which in my mind are creating a perfect storm for the world we live in, the one song that keeps popping up in my mind is a song from 20 years ago or 15 years ago called "If You Tolerate This, Then Your Children Will Be Next." Okay? And I think the reality is the way we will use technology today is the way technology will be used on us tomorrow, right? And so I ask every single one of you to start believing in a world of abundance, right? Where basically, if you do things with ethics, you can continue to grow in ways that are unheard of, but in the process, you would be teaching AI to be Superman, not supervillain, right? And so don't abuse AI to take more money from consumers. Use AI to create a better life for consumers, right? And if your intention is to create better life for consumers, you still make money. And when people ask me about the threat of AI and what can we do about it, I answer with one word. Okay? Most of the geeks like me will say either solve the control problem, so write code to make the AI submit to us, or solve the safety problem, which is write code so when AI does something wrong, we can be safe. Right? I say it's an ethics problem. It is not about controlling AI or even teaching AI to cure cancer. This is using AI for good. It's about teaching AI not to lie. It's about teaching AI not to cheat. It's about teaching AI not to steal. It's about teaching AI not to abuse humans, right? And the only way you can do that is to be a good parent. The only way those machines can learn ethics is by observing us humans using them in an ethical way. Most people will tell me, oh, but so many humans are unethical. I don't believe that to be true. I believe that most humans will disapprove of a school shooting, okay? Most humans will not approve of a child being killed. The reason why so many people are debating killing children today is simply because they're not informed. They're informed at a different level of the conversation. But if you strip it down to, would you approve of killing an innocent child, everyone will say no, on every side of every conflict. And I think this is the true test of humanity, that era that we're in today, and you are responsible leaders that can actually implement that. The true test of humanity is if I told you we're going into an age of total abundance, Okay? And all that I ask you for is use that abundance ethically. Would you be able to do it? You'll still make a lot of money, you'll still be incredibly successful, you'll still grow your business, you'll still be more profitable, but you're just gonna do it in a way that basically is the way you want your daughter to be treated, okay? And I think if we can manage to get this right, we would end up in the utopia I described to you, okay? If we don't believe it or not, just so that I don't leave you on a fearful thought, we will still end up in the utopia. We will just have to struggle along the path until we're convinced that there is no need for the fight anymore.
Wonderful. Well, I think unfortunately we're out of time, but I think that's a fantastic and uplifting note to end on. So, Mo Gawdat, everybody.